Hello, I'm Jim Koshar with Hudson River Computing. We've been in the market for approximately 30 years, and what I'm going to show you today is a little bit how Acumatica's menus work. So we're going to go through a couple of parts relating to that. It's going to be a short video just to give you kind of an idea of what it looks like. So we're going to go through the agenda real quick, kind of a general menu overview. We're going to go through the header section of the menus, and then how the workspaces work, or basically the menus themselves, and how you can select items within the menu. So let's get started. So this is what Acumatica looks like. Okay, and keep note that we're not going to cover dashboards today, which is primarily what you see when you log into Acumatica. The dashboards are customizable and can be tailored to the individual as needed. And there's you can create your own dashboards. You can use ones that ship with the product, etc. But we're going to concentrate on the menu itself, which is basically the pieces all the way around the dashboard. So you have the top piece here, which is in the header, and you have the pieces here on the side where you select the menu items. So at this point, if I take and go to the left, we're going to just go across the top, and then we'll go down the side a little bit. If I click on Acumatica, that works as a home page. So basically, wherever I am in the product, if I click that, it's going to bring me back to whatever my home page is that I have set for me. Okay, so it's relatively straightforward. The search bar is global. It's like a Google within Acumatica. So, like if I want to search, say I get a call, I'm working on something, I get a call from Acumatica from a customer, and I want to put in their PO number because that's what they gave me. All right, if I put that in, you'll see that I don't have any menu items for that. I don't have any help topics for that or files, but if I did, they would show up. In this case here, though, I do have a sales order for that, and it's Alta A. So now if I click on that, it can actually take me directly to that. So it's relatively straightforward, easy to use, and you can find things very quickly and easily. When I'm done, I can just hit home, take it out, or just close that particular browser page if I open up a second page. So if I go to the next item, this is a history. So what this shows me is where I have been in the system throughout recent 30 days or so, depending on how you have it set up. So in this case, I'm looking at the last thing that I went to. You notice here's that sales order. If I click on it, it opens the sales order up. If I have something I'm going to continually work on with the sales order in the history, I can also set it up so it's a favorite. So like if I need to go back to this batch tomorrow that I've been working on, I can click it, and when I come back in the history, it'll show that is a favorite. If I click on the favorite, it takes me directly to that, whatever the favorite happens to be. So it's relatively straightforward, easy to use. If I go a little bit further over, the next section is you set up within Acumatica the picture of your organization. It could be branches, can be different company parts, etc., depending on how you set it up. And in this case here, this is where you select that for processing. So if I click here, I can actually very easily switch parts of my organization to a different branch, for example. So in this case here, I'm going from products retail, as it changes color so we can be aware or more easily aware that we've changed places. And if I go back to product wholesale, you'll see that it goes back to the other color. The date and time here gives you a reflection of your current date and time, pretty straightforward. However, if you're still working, say right now, this says April 23rd, 2026. If I end up, maybe I'm still working on 331, I can actually default the date to 331 so that I can actually do all my work to 331, and it defaults the dates on the transactions I'm entering. The key to remember on that, though, is that you need to make sure that you change the date back to the current day or the date you're working on next. All right, so it's relatively straightforward, easy to do. The next button here is Help. Okay, now if I click it here, what I get is actually from my home page, I actually get all the reference manuals. All right, if you take a look here, we have everything from diagrams and dashboards and how to do transactions, etc. as we go down through. The other thing that it does is actually context sensitive help, which is how people normally use it. So going back to our same sales order, okay, to keep it simple, if I go in here and then click on the question mark, it then shows me a whole series of things that relate to the help and to this window. So it talks about how to do different processes, different activities, etc. Related information, how it interrelates with other parts of the product, things like that. And then last but not least, you have context sensitive help. And it's detailed. So if I look at it and I want to say, okay, I'm trying to look at the particular part of the menu, etc., I can do that very easily. All right. So here's everything on the menu. If I want to take a look at the address If I want to look at the taxes tab, I can click on that and it gives me the information related to the taxes tab from the sales order. It doesn't matter where you pick it, it's going to take you to that and then provide other links a lot of times to either setup that's related to it or other things that interrelate with it. So it's very concise, very up to date, and it matches the product at all times. The next one is AI Assistant. In AI Assistant, what ends up happening is that it actually allows me to see different items where I've searched before or by doing new search. So I've actually done this one previously, and so I can actually refer back to it. I did this one a few days ago. So what ends up happening, I can say, how much are your year-to-date sales? It pops up with that, and then you can keep drilling down on that. What are the top 10 invoices within that? It goes through and does that same thing and gives you a little graph of it. And what is this year's top selling item? Goes back to the individual items out of the list, which in this case happens to be an Acer laptop computer. And if I go down a little bit further, what items have the top gross margin for the year? What item? And it happens to be the same item in this case, but that's the nice part about it. It has that drill down. That's the AI assistant. In the upper right-hand corner, you see that we have in here where I can select different tenants or different databases within the system. So if I have maybe a test tenant or a demo tenant, or I have another company that is set up totally separate, you can actually have that and you can select that there. And then last but not least, you have my profile. And that's where you can set up various items that relate to you, such as email signature pages and time zones and things like that that you happen to be working on if it's not the default for your particular tenant and system. So if I go down a little bit further now, I'm going to go to the left-hand side here of the screen. You'll see that under favorites is the next button. What favorites are things that you do all the time that you want to reference quickly, easily, and be able to get to them without having to go through the whole menu structure. And in this case here, you'll see I have a handful of items selected. It's very easy to adjust and change. So for example, I have journal transactions for finance. And if I decide, okay, I don't want to do that anymore, I don't do that very frequently, I can unselect that. All right, now if I go to finance and I come back to favorites, you'll see that it's not there. To make it a favorite, it's just as easy. What I do is I go over and click to start, and basically that makes it a favorite on the favorites menu. And it's that simple to keep your favorites up to date. The reason why you want to use favorites versus buttons or to links within the header, for example, I have, is that these travel with you. So as you go through and use a different browser, different machine, maybe you're working from home versus the office, these favorites will travel with Acumatica for your login. So it works out very simply and very easily. Okay, so going down a little bit further, you can kind of get an idea how the menus work. So if you take a look, we'll see that we have finance and we want to make journal transactions. Well, there's two ways to get there. Okay, it depends what you're going to do. If you want to see the journal transactions that are already in the system, you click on the journal transactions. If then you want to enter one, you can actually just click the plus here. The other option was back here, and you could actually just click here. I'm going to open it in a new tab. This varies slightly depending on the browser you're using, but in this case here, I'm going to actually take and open a journal transaction window that gives you that kind of idea where it goes to directly. So that's how straightforward it is to get to the entry windows from the menu. All right, and you can open up as many as you need. So for example, if I want to open up another journal transactions window, it's not limited by that. All right, so it's kind of very useful when you're doing comparisons. You're trying to do different things. Sometimes you need to say, well, this vendor works and that vendor doesn't. You can put them side by side and really just kind of tick down the screen if you need to. So it's those kind of things that people run into every once in a while, but it gives you a kind of idea. Now, with that, a couple small things that we can do over here, right? So I'm going to get rid of this. Sorry about that. If you take a look at that's not Acumatica, by the way. If you click on this, you can see I can get the shorter menu. It gives me more screen resolution. So if I go a little bit to the left, a little bit more screen space, you can see here in the list, I have more screen space than when it's expanded. That's how I typically run Acumatica. During demos, I typically run it this way, though, because you can make visually payables versus receivables, et cetera, as you go down through. All right. So as we go down a little bit more, you'll see that there's more menu items here. How do these go on the menu or stay off the menu? You can get to them either way. So for example, in this case here, if I look at this, I want to click on projects, that'll take me to the projects menu that way. However, I can actually pin this menu. If I pin the menu, and I can do it from here, I can do it from the other menu, it then shows up in the menu where it's supposed to be lined up. Now, these menus can vary by individual to a large extent because if I don't normally do anything with projects and I do accounts payable, I may not have the projects menu there, right? Because I only need it on an infrequent basis, assuming I have access to it, right? So the idea is you can do that. By the same token, if I don't want it on my menu, I can click on it and it takes it away. All right. So now if I go back to the top, right, you'll see that that came out. All right. The next part about the menus is that when I click on finance, you'll see there's some things that are on the menu and then it says show all. So these are the things that I typically do on a regular basis. If there's something I do infrequently, I can remove it off the menu. So for example, maybe I don't do allocations. So I can actually take these two pieces for the allocations off, right? So I can click on show all and I can see that there's more things here that kind of relate to different things. What do I want? But I'm actually going to take that off of there. So now if I go into setup, I can actually go here and say, take off the allocations. And basically, it won't show up on the menu any longer. If on the other hand, I don't do anything with budgets because that's not me. I can actually take that off, and then I don't have to worry about that being on the menu on a regular basis. If I have access to it, right, you'll see it there anyway. If I show less, you'll see it's disappeared. I can still get to it if I click the more button if I need it on an occasional basis. Last but not least, and we're going to keep it kind of short, we're trying to keep these quick and sweet for everybody. So we have a couple other things we can do. We can collapse the menus to the top. So when you want the menu, you got to click on the menu button every time and then click on the menu. Okay. The other thing you can do is expand the menu to the left, which is what we did originally. And then last but not least, we can actually edit the menus. And we can do various things here. Maybe we want things in a different order, right? So like maybe we want bills of material to be after projects, and we want production orders to be after bills of material, and we want inventory planning to be after that, and product configurator, same thing, we'll put that down there. And what we've done is we moved basically our accounting pieces more toward the top. And I want banking above finance, and oh, I've missed projects. We're going to take that and put that down below. And then from there, I have finance, and maybe what I want to do, oops, I missed that drag. We want to have like receivables and payables after finance, right? So I can do the same thing, just drag it up. Oh, I got to do it in two drags, I guess. Okay, so then we moved up finance, and we're going to do the same thing with payables, assuming that I find it. Where did I go? I went past it. Too fast. There it is. So with that same idea, okay, and I can drag it up under receivables. Now, if I just exit the menu, what you'll see is that at this point now you have banking, finance, receivables, and payables. So what you'll find with Acumatica is very configurable, tailorable to what the end users want to have. And that pretty much concludes what I wanted to show today as to how menus work. I really thank you for your time. Thank you.